ever since I've learned how to draw chibis, I've just been drawing them in every single one of my videos. And honestly, it's kind of a problem. I'm trapped in the chibi dungeon. All I can do whenever I draw is draw a little baby chibi, and I literally can't stop. Please, I want to draw full bodies again, please! Although it's extremely addicting, at least for me, it is so fun to draw chibis. So for this video, I'm going to show you guys how to draw your own. I encourage you to experiment with your own style in this video, since it can make it a lot easier to find your own chibi style. Let's get to it, shall we? Alright, so grab a pencil, paper, maybe even your drawing program. Like here I have Clip Studio, and we're going to start drawing some little chibis. Alright, so first of all, before we start actually drawing a whole chibi, I want to break down all the basic shapes of a chibi. So what I usually use for basic shapes is this oval for the head, and then this weird shape for the body. I'd say it's like a trapezoid. I hope I'm saying that right. And then we have the legs and the little feet at the bottom. And then we have our little arms, which I like to make them look like little Animal Crossing arms. So this is what the base of our chibi would look like. We can add the eyes, the hair, and the clothes later, but this will be our basic understanding of chibi as of now. Alright, so now that you know the basic shapes, the head, the body, the legs, and the arms, now we can get into some more detail. So when drawing chibi eyes, I like to go for this format. So these lines here, this is the first one, goes up. Then we have this one, which goes kind of to the right. This one which goes down. And then we have the one that connects it. And then we have the inside, the little pupil. But sometimes eyes can be shaped a little differently, and you can adjust how you want your eye to look. So this is usually the format I follow. Sometimes maybe I want the eye to be a little more sharp, so I can go for more sharp, rigid edges. Or we can go for a really round look. So essentially this is what our eyes would look like. So if we want to add our eyes to a chibi, I have my oval here, and then we can add crosshairs to better understand where our eyes will be. So my chibi will be looking a little towards this way. We can just add the eyes around this location. The eyes can be closer or further apart. It doesn't matter. It depends on what you want it to look like. So for me, I'm going to add my eyes around here, just to give you a good example. This would be where my eyes would be, right? So whenever I draw eyes kind of a weird angle, I like to think of my eye as being a little squished on this side. So here it would be a little flat, right? You know, just the same kind of eye like I drew before. But then when I squish it, essentially I just take it. Then I can just squish it like this. So I'd squish it this way, but it would be on the other side. So how that would look is I would take my lines, right? So I have this line. And then I just make this line a little shorter. This line is slightly shorter than this line, right? And then just connect those lines. So then here, we'd have our eyes kind of in perspective. So once we have our eyes, we can add our ear, since we know from the eyes where the ear would be. My ear would be aligned with the eyes, and our nose would be aligned about to the bottom of the ear here. Then we have our mouth. Usually I just go for a line and a lip. But if you wanted to have an open mouth, I like to make it pretty simple. So it'd be like a silly face here. And if the mouth is open, I'd have a line here to show the teeth. Or if it was closed, I'd add a line here to make it look like a little smile. All right. And then, now that we have our face here, we can add the chin. So I go for this little shape. I love it. It just gives it a little cheek. So it makes it look really cutesy. And once we have our cheek, I can get into the hair. Essentially, when drawing hair, you want to simplify it. You don't want anything to be too intense. You need it to be pretty simple, since a chibi is supposed to be kind of small. So like with my Sona's hair, I like to start with where I know my roots are. So here would be where my root is, and my hair would kind of go off of that. So I have my bangs here. And notice how it kind of goes off that root. And then this other side is a little smaller. And I have my hair here. I have my hat and stuff and accessories. We don't have to worry too much about that though. And then the back of our hair. So notice how the lines are pretty simple. We don't get too in depth with every single strand. I just make it look kind of roundy and simple. And then let's say you wanted to go for a straight hairstyle. straight hairstyle. Then we would go for more flat looking hair. So here what I like to do, so we'll have our bangs here. Think of it like a Splatoon haircut. Really, it's just, hair's pretty simple. Just make sure you know where the root is. So here's the root, and you just go off of that. But make sure your hair is simple, all right? The simpler the hair, the better. That's kind of my rule for hair. Right, so here's the base of my head. I'm still keeping it. And I'm just going to add the hair that I had. Alright, so now we have the hair. And also, don't forget the eyebrows. Usually I go for thick, puffy eyebrows for my chibi, for my little Sona. But you could also go for, like, thin lines. Or you could go for a little bit thicker than thin lines. Depends on what character you're drawing. So now we add the body off of this. Once again, just starting with simple shapes. So here we have our body. I'll add the arms. And the legs. And then we'll add our clothes. So once again, same rule. Same rule pretty much applies to everything. Make sure that your hair is simple and your clothes are fairly simple. Some accessories of your character can be much bigger, or you can make them much smaller. It's your choice. Usually I tend to make my features pretty proportionate, but I like to make this bow a little bigger. So my bow, my little collar, a thing. So like as you can see, if you've seen my Sona's outfit, I only add one chain. That's because if I added another one, it would make it look a little too complex. And I feel like that wouldn't be the best for a chibi design. So here is just a little basic sketch of a chibi. If you follow this pattern with any other character, then it will look great. So I was going to get into the whole rendering process and everything in this video, but then it turned out to be 30 minutes long, which is like, that is not ideal for a chibi video. I want this to be short, you know? I wish I could have gotten into the rendering, line art process, coloring, all of that. Wish I could have, but I couldn't, and I'm sorry about that. But I can at least give you a short explanation of how I do it. So for line work, I make sure to vary my lines depending on where the shadows are, and I like to add thick lines on the outside as well. And I will color in my line work after I color. For color, I just start with flats, and then of course I go into rendering, but I make sure to not do too dark of shadows, and I make sure that my colors are very saturated, since that's kind of my thing, is saturated colors and bright colors, stuff like that. And after I'm done with that, I usually merge all the layers, and then I just go over everything to make sure everything looks perfect. And usually I like to go over the lines again, just to make everything a little thicker, because sometimes my line work is a little too thin from what I've seen. But once you're done with that, you can add the highlights and everything, and then you'll have your cute little baby chibi. Yeah, this video was like long overdue. I told everyone, I was like, hey, it's gonna be done next weekend! And yeah, that didn't happen. But thank you guys so much for the fan art, and Art Fight is underway as of now. I know that's probably gonna change in like 5 days, which is crazy. I've gotten so many attacks. It's so sweet of you guys. And oh my gosh, I am actually getting something interesting soon, and I'll make an announcement about it. I mean, I kind of already did in my post if you look close enough. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.